Welcome to Dr. P.C. Verma Economist YouTube Economics class. Today we are discussing properties of isoquant. Isoquant curve. What is isoquant? Iso means equal. Quant means quantity. So equal quantity curve is isoquant. Equal product curve is isoquant. Isoquant is similar to indifference curve, but there is basic difference between indifference curve and isoquant. Therefore, in BPSC, question will be, what is difference between indifference curve and isoquant? What we see here, there is similarity between isoquant and indifference curve. But in BPSC question asked, what are the differences between isoquant and indifference curve? That we will discuss in later on. At present, I am telling you about first isoquant. What is isoquant? Isoquant curve means equal product curve. What is iso? Iso word is used in geography also. Isotopes. Iso is used in physics. Iso is a very important term. On map also iso is iso means equal. So equal product curve is known as isoquant. Isoquant curve is downward sloping, and there are two factors taken into consideration: labor and capital. Look on the board. On the board you see isoquant is downward sloping, and this is a single isoquant. It means if producer is there, he will get 100 units. Therefore Q1 is denoted as 100 units. Production is a function of labor and capital. And in equation form it will be like this. Production is a function of labor and capital. In economics, most important factor is DQ, that is differential. Differential is important for maximization. All producers are faced by two problems: maxima or minima. Maxima means maximum, minima means minimum. What we find out that in economics, many things is related to maximum minima. If I ask you pain, dard, that is minima. If I ask you happiness, then it is maxima. So everything is related to either maxima or minima. Here we have taken the case of producer. Producer is having a intention to maximum production, whatever its consequences. If there is maximum production of potato, it may not be labor and capital. Two factors are there, and for capital, then dq will be equal to del q by del L into dl plus del q by del k into dk is equal to 0. This is equation of maximization, first condition. First condition of maximization of production through isoquant will be reflected in terms of mathematics. dq is equal to del q by del L into dl plus del q by del k into dk is equal to 0. We all know that if the one term is put to the right hand side, then plus will become minus. plus will become minus. So for expanding it, we will write del Q by del L into dl equal to minus del Q by del K dk. By right hand side, turn left hand side to right, it will right side into the right side, it will be division. So if we take this one to this one and this one to right side, what will happen? This side we will have only dk and this will come to right side dl. And what will happen this side? Del Q by del L, del Q by del L, and this will come to right side del Q by del K. So this equation will be converted to this. Finally, this is converted to this. What is the meaning? In economics, del Q by del L is equal to marginal productivity of labor. Del Q by del K is equal to marginal productivity of capital. And then equal to minus dk by dl is marginal rate of technical substitution between labor and capital. What we find out? We found that dq by dq is equal to first necessary condition for maximum, and the objective of producer is to produce maximum output with the help of labor and capital. Here this is assumption that only two factors are taken into account, although we know that there are 5 factors of production: land, labor, capital, organization, enterprise. But for discussion purpose, these 5 factors converted into 2 factors: labor and capital. Labor and capital. And in all discussions in economics, take into 2 factors, everything is analyzed. It is found the 5 factors are imbibed in these 2. How can we say manager? Manager is also labor, but not a manual labor, mental labor. Entrepreneur is doing with the help of mind, and therefore he is also similar to labor. Therefore, labor consists of not only physical labor, but mental labor, entrepreneur, organizer, manager, all are put into labor for the purpose of generalization in the discussion. And then the right side and the another K, capital. So labor and capital. Capital means person who use their capital for the purpose of production. There is also property owner. They provide property service. But here we include property service also in capital. Property service means what? You build a house and put it on rent and get money. That money. And capital means what? You have money, give to the bank will give to the entrepreneur for opening industry. So in that way, labor and capital is considered to be worldwide as 2 factors for analyzing the behavior of the factors in the economy. We are talking about the economy in which main objective is to produce more production, because more production will help not only domestic economy, rather we will export in the market. And if there is a war like Gaza and Israel and Ukraine and Russia, then we will have extra wheat, we will supply there also. So production maximization is the objective of producer, whether producer is in the private sector or producer in public sector. In our economy there is mixed economy, but in USA, UK, France, Germany, Japan, all these are a capitalist economy. So we are talking economics mainly regarding the principles of capitalist economy. But we come to the discussion in context of Indian economy, that will become the mixed economy. Here, for maximization, dq must be equal to 0. And another factor, d square q is less than 0 for maximum production. Maximum production. This is sufficient condition. This is sufficient condition. This is sufficient condition for maximization. For maximization. This is sufficient condition for maximization. But what we found here, this is necessary condition. This is necessary condition. So any producer producing faces downward sloping isopoint curve. Isopoint curve is also known as equal product curve. Equal product curve. Quant term means quantity. Equal quantity curve, but it is phonetic, it is said isopoint curve. But you can also say equal product curve. So what we see here? Isopoint is downward sloping from left to the right. What is number 2? Isopoint is convex to the origin. What is convex to the origin? It means bottom will be downward. This is called convex to the origin. So first property will be isopoint curve must be downward sloping. Second property is isopoint must be convex to the origin. It is not to be concave. It is not to be a straight line. It is always concave to the origin. Number 3, several isopoints curves drawn on one diagram, that is known as family of isopoint curves, that is known as the isopoint map. And which one will be selected by the producer, that depends upon its capacity to hire labor and capital. We all know that in our country, hiring is very less, therefore there is more unemployment. But in USA, hire and fire. If you are hired for work, if you are not suitable, you will be fired. Efficiency is the main factor in the USA. Continuity of the work, efficiency, production, that must be positive, only then you will remain in the job. Otherwise you will be fired. Fired means you will become unemployed. We all know GPT, AI, very popular nowadays. Chat GPT and AI. These are the outcome of the Chat GPT and AI is for those who are left India and settled in USA and Canada and Australia because of their personal merit. Now the personal merit is not counted, but the AI will be counted. And AI has many times more energy and fastness in solving any equations or anything in the business circle. Therefore, nowadays there is danger of unemployment to IATLs. And unless they convert their knowledge from the general type to the chat GPT and AI and machine learning and all these new things which are practiced in the industrial sector. So this is danger to our country. That our country 140 crore population. And what is the population of USA? 37 crore only. And what is the population of Canada? 3.4 crore. 3 crore, just think. And what is the population of Bihar? 12.5 crore. So we have to find out such a methodology of production where our labor will be absorbed, and we teach our labor to develop their skill in terms of this new arrival of chat GPT and AI and others. So what we see here, that isoquant property number one, it is downward sloping. Isoquant is downward sloping. Second is isoquant is convex to the origin. Third will be lower isoquant will represent lower production level, and higher isoquant represent higher production level in isoquant map. And fourth is two isoquant must be parallel, so that it cannot intersect. If it is parallel, it will go parallel. So isoquant must be parallel. And last is two isoquant can never intersect. Otherwise, it will lead to the absurd conclusion. I hope that all the students who are watching this video might have copied the material written on whiteboard. Now I am removing this and giving you the new facts. समुत्पाद वक्र, हिंदी मीडियम वाले लोग समझ लें, जो मैं इंग्लिश में कहा है उसी का हिंदी बोल रहा हूँ। समुत्पाद वक्र वह रेखा है जिसमें हर बिंदु पर समान प्रोडक्शन होता है, और एक जो समुत्पाद वक्र होगा 1, तो उस पर 100 यूनिट होगा। दूसरा अगर समुत्पाद वक्र खींचेंगे तो 200 होगा, तीसरा खींचेंगे तो 300 होगा, चौथा खींचेंगे तो 400 होगा। इस तरीके से इन आइसोक्वांट बढ़ाते जाएंगे, प्रोडक्शन बढ़ता चला जाएगा। और समुत्पाद वक्र वह रेखा है जिसके सभी बिंदुओं पर समान प्रोडक्शन होता है, इसलिए वो उस कर्व पर जहां कहीं भी रहेगा उसको समान उत्पादन मिलेगा। We find here properties of indifference curve. First property is isoquant curve is downward sloping. From left to the right. This is first property. Second property, isoquant curve is always convex to the origin. This curve is not isoquant because this is concave to the origin. This curve is not isoquant because this is a straight line, not indifference curve, not isoquant. So isoquant cannot be concave to the origin. Isoquant cannot be a straight line. Isoquant is always convex to the origin. This is isoquant third. That means isoquant family. What is it means? That Q1 is less than, Q first is less than Q second. Q second is less than Q third. Q third is less than Q fourth. Highest, this Q fourth is highest level of production. Highest, and this is lowest. So what we find out that isoquant is always convex to the origin. तटस्थ ये समुत्पादक की रेखा सदैव ऊपर से नीचे दाहिनी ओर झुकी रहती है. नंबर वन. नंबर टू, समुत्पाद वक्र रेखा सदैव कन्वेक्स टू द ओरिजिन होती है. कन्वेक्स टू द ओरिजिन होती है. अगर कोई आदमी आइसोक्वांट कनकेव टू द ओरिजिन खींचता है तो दैट इज नॉट आइसोक्वांट. अगर कोई स्ट्रेट लाइन खींचता है तो दैट इज नॉट आइसोक्वांट कर्व. आइसोक्वांट कर्व ऑलवेज बी कन्वेक्स टू द ओरिजिन. Then number of more isoquant on the same diagram will show the family of isoquant. That means you have option for quantity, more quantity, 100 unit, 200 unit, 300 unit, 400 unit, depending upon the demand condition in the market. Depending upon the demand condition in the market. So suppose this is isoquant 1, this represents 100 units. This represents 200 unit, this represents 300 unit, this represents 400 unit. You will say that 400 is good. No, this will depend upon the income of the producer. If producer has less income, if producer budget is less, then he will be satisfied on first isoquant. But if it is like Ambani or Adani and Tata, Birla, they will always go for higher and highest isoquant curve for production, because more production, it will need to larger scale production, it will lead to larger scale industry, it will lead to more capital investment, it will lead to more risk, and therefore that can be beared only by big capitalists. But in India, in Bihar, very small farms are there, and their quantity will be lower. Their capacity will be lower. So it depends upon the budgetary provision of the producer. What is the budget of the producer? If you want to become BPSC officer, then the first condition that you will have to read 10 hours per day. Not less, not more. If you do it, you will be officer. And if you fail to do that, it will lead to the frustration. Therefore, what is the capacity? And capacity of the producer is measured in terms of budgetary provisions. What are the budget? And budget will be reflected through wage rate and interest rate, because we have taken two factors. Labor will charge wage and capital will charge interest. So you will have to find out the price of labor and price of capital. Two factors are there. So this will be like this. This is price of labor by price of capital. This is labor and this is capital. What is this? Factor price line. This is known as factor price line. This is known as factor price line. What is the factor price line? You draw in your own copy. What is the factor price line? Factor price line is a straight line. Factor price line is downward sloping line. Factor price line touches OX axis and OY axis. See in the diagram. Factor price line touches bottom side OX axis and the upper side touching OY axis. Therefore, factor price will be always a straight line. Factor price will be always a straight line. This is the most important factor. First factor is isoquant and its property, and second factor is factor price line. These two conditions, if you know, you can find out the producer's equilibrium. What you will find out? Producers equilibrium. इसको उतार लीजिए, इसको मिटाएंगे. This is the last item that is known as producers equilibrium. Producers equilibrium with isoquant curve and iso cost line. Up till now you know that this is isoquant. This is isoquant. This is isoquant. This is isoquant. And we know that this is factor price line, that is price of labor by price of capital. This is labor and this is capital. And how can we get the equilibrium? Look here, we are reaching to the final point. Part 1 will be properties of indifference curve, property of isoquant, part 1. Part 2 is factor price line, that is known as iso cost line. Factor price line, iso cost line. And if we draw like this, look here, concentrate on my drawing, isoquant. This is equilibrium. This is equilibrium. OM labor and ON capital. Factor price line equation is PL by PK. PL by PK. इसको क्या कहते हैं? रिलेटिव फैक्टर प्राइस लाइन. फैक्टर प्राइस लाइन, रिलेटिव फैक्टर प्राइस लाइन. दिस इज कॉल्ड प्रोड्यूसर्स इक्विलिब्रियम. इसको क्या कहेंगे? प्रोड्यूसर्स इक्विलिब्रियम. प्रोड्यूसर्स इक्विलिब्रियम with isoquant and isocost line. isoquant और isocost line. अब आपको करना क्या है कि मैक्सिमम दिखाना है कि मैक्सिमम कितना कर सकता है प्रोडक्शन. तो पहले ये बना लेंगे और तब इसके नीचे जो है आराम से खींचेंगे, दो. इसका नाम हो जाएगा Q1, इसका नाम हो जाएगा Q2, इसका नाम हो जाएगा Q3 और ये Q4 को उसके बजट के बाहर कर देंगे. तो ये Q4 है. ये क्या है? आउटसाइड द बजट. Producers equilibrium is obtained at point E, where factor cost line is tangent to isoquant 3, isoquant third. It means producer will produce 300 unit. Suppose we put it here unit, then this is 100, this is 200, this is 300, this is 400 units. What we find out, the producer will always obtain equilibrium at point E, where factor price line is tangent to isoquant curve number Q3. He will not like Q1, Q2 because it represents lower production. His productive capacity enables him to produce at Q3 isoquant at point E. Factor price line, that is known as iso cost line, is tangent to isoquant at point E in the diagram. Therefore, producer's equilibrium is obtained at point E in the diagram. उत्पादक संतुलन चित्र नंबर 3, ये हो गया चित्र नंबर 2, ये हो गया चित्र नंबर 1। तो उत्पादक संतुलन Q3 सम उत्पाद वक्र के समुत्पाद वक्र पर प्राप्त करता है। क्यों प्राप्त करता है? ई बिंदु पर AB लाइन को क्या कहते हैं? आइसो कॉस्ट लाइन स्पर्श करती है। स्पर्श को कहते हैं टैंजेंट। स्पर्श करती है Q3 सम उत्पाद वक्र को। इसलिए OM श्रम प्लस ON पूंजी के द्वारा उत्पादक कितना प्रोड्यूस करेगा? 300 यूनिट्स उत्पादन करेगा, जिसे हम प्रोड्यूसर्स इक्विलिब्रियम कहेंगे। प्रोड्यूसर्स इक्विलिब्रियम मतलब उत्पादक संतुलन कहेंगे। तो यह स्पष्ट हो गया कि आइसो क्वांट के द्वारा और आइसो कॉस्ट लाइन के द्वारा हम प्रोड्यूसर्स इक्विलिब्रियम को प्राप्त करते हैं। हम लोगों का टॉपिक था प्रॉपर्टीज ऑफ आइसो क्वांट एंड आइसो कॉस्ट लाइन, एंड बाय knowing these two we arrive to the conclusion of producers equilibrium। अगर BPSC एग्जामिनेशन में आता है कि व्हाट डू मीन बाय प्रोड्यूसर्स इक्विलिब्रियम, एक्सप्लेन प्रोड्यूसर्स इक्विलिब्रियम विद द हेल्प ऑफ आइसोक्वांट कर्व, तो ये जितनी बातें आपको बताए हैं वही आपको लिखना है। अगर आता है आपको एक्सप्लेन प्रोड्यूसर्स इक्विलिब्रियम विद द हेल्प ऑफ मार्जिनल प्रोडक्ट, एवरेज प्रोडक्ट, टोटल प्रोडक्ट, तो ये जो है आपको पिछले क्लास में बता चुके हैं इसको लॉ ऑफ वेरिएबल प्रोपोर्शन के अंतर्गत आपको दिखलाए हुए हैं कि जहां टोटल प्रोडक्ट मैक्सिमम होगा उतना ही उत्पादन करेगा। तो दो विधि है। प्रोड्यूसर्स इक्विलिब्रियम का क्वेश्चन बीपीएससी में आपको दो तरह से आता है। एक आवेगा जो अभी बताए हैं सो, और दूसरा जो है बताए हैं लॉ ऑफ वेरिएबल प्रोपोर्शन में पिछले क्लास में, उसको भी देख लीजिएगा। ये दोनों को अगर तैयार करके रखिएगा, एक इसमें पकड़ाना है। अब किसी नेक्स्ट क्लास में आपको बताएंगे जो बीपीएससी में आता है कि व्हाट इज डिफरेंसेस बिटवीन इंडिफरेंस कर्व एंड आइसोक्वांट। हम लोग जो पढ़े हैं उसमें हम लोगों ने क्या देखा, सिमिलरिटी देखा, सिमिलरिटी बिटवीन आइसोक्वांट एंड इंडिफरेंस कर्व। लेकिन वहां पूछेगा आपको डिफरेंसेस, तो दोनों का सिमिलरिटी आप जान गए हैं। नेक्स्ट क्लास में आपको डिफरेंसेस बताएंगे, तो आप हर तरह से किसी तरह से कोई क्वेश्चन आएगा तो आप जवाब दे सकते हैं। दैट्स ऑल, थैंक यू। उतार दिया, हम तो फास्ट लिखते हैं। रुको, रुको, रुको।